He's typing in the group chat. It says Craig
Free
is
food
typing.
I
tonight.
can't go with the thing anymore.
Hop on the group chat.
Run over at 6 o'clock or at 6:30 or whenever and get free dinner. Okay? I expect they'll still be cooking at 7. I don't know. I haven't been to a ag version of a department party before, so I don't quite know what to expect.
Yeah.
Must be
Yeah.
nice.
But I think
That, yeah.
it's already
I want to stop at
Why would we go?
1:45, so that I can give you back the exams and you can have a look at them and check my adding up. So throw something at me if I'm still talking at 42. So maybe not key.
I got a little, I got a little squishy ball.
Perfect, there you go. Exactly. Throw that at me. All right. So chapter 7, we're going to start looking at locomotion. All right, and also chapter 7 is the start of a new assessment tool called an observation plan. And we're going to have 3 chapters where they cover this observation plan, and then we're going to practice making one. All right? So locomotion in motor behavior means that we're moving from place to place, which is a very simple definition, but it's a complex activity, all right? And we can use our triangle to identify many constraints that impact locomotion. Okay. So it can be moving on one limb, moving on 2 limbs, moving on 4 limbs, crawling, walking, running, and then we have more complicated locomotion skills like hopping and skipping and galloping. Which locomotion at which point in the lifespan do we use and why? That's what we want to know. All right? So we've got to think about interaction of muscle strength and skeletal growth, weight, what's someone's motivation for moving, what's the perceived social acceptance for a particular kind of moving. Okay? Because if you see me skipping through Walmart, you're all going to go, I don't know. Right? But skipping is a great skill. So I like skipping. And just because I have grey hair doesn't mean I can't skip. Okay? So we have a kind of social norm that we expect people to behave to. And when they do something different, we think that's a little odd. Okay? I'm not going to show all the videos, because if I stop and show you all these videos, we won't have time to hand the exams back. I do want you to make the effort, please, to go back and open the PowerPoint and click on the videos and look at them, because it will help you understand the descriptions of things. All right? This video on the left here actually is pre-crawling and creeping. This is the action of the rocking backwards and forwards that I was telling you about on, what day is it? Wednesday, Monday, okay? So the brain is kind of working out, where do I have to move? Like, how do I shift my balance? Are my arms and my shoulders strong enough for me to actually lift my hands off the floor yet? Things like that. All right? It's not conscious thought by the child, but that's the kind of workout that the brain is getting and trying, the problem solving that the brain is doing at that time. Okay? And then this one over here is rolling and creeping, I think. Right? Remember that crawling in motor behavior is actually like a commando, a seal crawl, moving on hands and dragging their tummy and their legs on the floor. All right? Then we typically are going to see creeping, which is moving on hands and knees. And that's a big step for the brain, because at that point it has to be able to uncouple the limbs. It's got to be able to move the arms separately from the legs, right? And move one side separately from the other side. Okay? So that's quite a big step to get to the creeping. And we have those environmental constraints that might impact what we see, right? The surface might change the creeping to a butt scoop, okay? The space that the infant is growing up in, whether there's a rough carpet that causes friction, okay? So we might see a butt scoop, we might see a bear walk, which is hands and feet rather than hands and knees. Rare to see a bear walk, but occasionally we do see one. Okay, so that's all our, well, the crawling and creeping count as locomotion. The rocking doesn't count, it's kind of the pre-locomotion. So that's our infant locomotion. And then we see, hopefully, if we have a typically developing child, we'll see the onset of walking, right? The first time that we see upright bipedal locomotion from this individual, right? On average, anybody remember what age we see walking on average?
12 months.
About 12 months, yeah. Can be as early as 9 months. But 12 months is the average, okay? Walking, the definition of walking then, is a locomotor skill where we see a 50% phasing between the legs. That means that each leg does half the skill, all right? And there has to be a period of double support where both feet are on the ground, and then a period of single support where the back, bless you, where the back foot comes off the floor and swings forward. So I have double, single, double, single, double, single, okay? As we grow, and as we get more experienced with walking, the underlying timing for walking, if I was biomechanically filming it and analyzing it, the timing pretty much stays the same. But change in constraints that the individual might deal with can alter the walking pattern. So maybe I start to walk faster, or I take a longer step, or a shorter step, or a wider step, for whatever reason, okay? All right, so early walking. So the people who are in lab, think of your MSU chart, think about stage 1, stage 2, going into stage 3. Those of you who aren't in lab, this is the kind of action that we see. Our arms are up high, our feet are pretty wide, maybe turned out, and we take independent steps, but it's quite a rocking action, right? They don't step forward very much. So this walking pattern that we see initially is the brain's way of maintaining stability and balance. So it makes the choice of maintaining balance over moving quickly and being very mobile. Right? So we pick stability over mobility. Or you could say we pick accuracy over force. Right? Because when I'm stable, I'm being very accurate, very purposeful. When I'm mobile, I'm applying a lot more force. So our rate controllers for this early walking motor pattern that we see are going to be strength. Remember that we've got lots of nice chubby fat cells now, right? And we've grown quite a lot. Babies got about this long, and a 1-year-old is about this long, right? So we've had lots of growth in that first year. So I've got to be strong enough to stand up and move and support my body on one leg, and I've got to be able to balance for a little bit of time on one leg, right? We don't see a lot of balance in that early pattern because it's more side to side than stepping forwards. Okay, so I'm not on one foot for very long. But strength and balance have to develop to a critical level